Understanding Chicago's Polonia. Three distinct waves of Polish immigrants whose migration was a result of oppressions in Poland have come to call Chicago their home in search of the American dream. Since the first wave of immigrants, which arrived in the 1850s, Polish immigrants got to work as soon as they could to create a new sense of belonging. Despite assimilation difficulties that arose from the contrasting cultures, they quickly established religious institutions that provided them with the foundation for future developments. The Polish population of Chicago, Polonia, has undoubtedly affected the city's economic, political, and religious aspects. Polonia continues to put great emphasis on keeping tradition alive and creating better opportunities throughout the Polish community. The first and largest migration wave lasted from the 1850s to the early 1920s and occurred during a time when Poland did not exist as a separate country but was partitioned between Prussia, Russia, and Austria. The first wave of migration was driven primarily by economic and structural change in Poland. This immigration is often referred to as za chlebem, which translates to for bread. It consisted primarily of labor workers who took the city's lowest jobs upon arrival. Peasants migrated with the intention of finding jobs in a higher-paying industry so that they could return home and purchase land, thereby resuming an agricultural life, while at the same time bettering their economic position. This can be seen in the pattern of settlement, where succeeding waves of immigrants selected settlement areas on the basis of information provided by relatives and friends who had migrated earlier and reported of economic opportunity. Most immigrants were young, single males who planned to return home with the money they earned. Once established in America, however, most became sufficiently comfortable, and only 1 in 4 actually returned to Poland. At the time, heavy industry had played an aggressive role in recruiting throughout Europe. So new Polish immigrants were drawn to the jobs in the factories, steel mills, and slaughterhouses of Chicago's industrial belt. Polish immigrants provided Chicago with a strong workforce during the city's period of expansion and development. One of the most pervasive and important cultural values that Poles brought with them was a deeply held religious faith, a faith shaped by the adversity of national partition, during which Catholicism became a symbol of resistance to the partitioning powers. In 1867, the Polish community built its own Roman Catholic parish, St. Stanisław Kostka, located in Westtown. It is a prime example of the Polish cathedral style of churches in both its opulence and grand scale. The parish was the core of the Polish community in America, as it had been in Poland. It provided not only the religious benefits, but served as a focus for social activity, promoted Polish nationalism, and acted as an intermediary with the unfamiliar new ways of American society.
The beauty of Polish culture is that we're so deeply rooted into our faith that we use our faith as kind of like the foundation of, I guess you can say, our lives. A lot of Polish immigrants that came to Chicago looked for that aspect in the city and in their life to kind of get them started.
The second wave of migration, which spanned from the 1920s to the 1970s, brought hundreds of thousands of Poles displaced by World War II and by the communist takeover of Poland. Poland was liberated by the Soviet Union and turned into a communist country, a system almost all Poles opposed. Thus, many chose to flee the country at any cost. Individuals in this second wave were primarily political prisoners, dissidents, and intellectuals from refugee camps all over Europe. Many immigrants were skilled individuals who struggled to find success with their professions in the homeland and came to the city in hopes of a better job. However, their education was rarely acknowledged, and they had to settle for lower jobs at a starting point. The second migration brought together people of many backgrounds to Chicago, presenting a more diverse Polish population. The average Polish-American community of the immigrant generation was thus focused on traditional institutions, including the parishes and various mutual aid societies around which developed ethnic organizations, newspapers, schools, and clubs. The ethnic communities were providing for the needs of their members through means compatible with both their European heritage and the demands of urban American environment. The lives of the immigrants were not easy. Fraught with marginal economic existence, overcrowded housing, limited socioeconomic mobility, discrimination, and other ambiguities. From this was also the creation of an ethnic stereotype, characterizing Polish immigrants as of limited mental capacity, satisfied with poor housing, clothing, and food, and prone to criminality. Aside from these ugly stereotypes and restrictions, Polish Americans began the realization of a dream they had held for more than a century, the recreation of an independent homeland. Towards the mid-1900s, Polonia was determined to begin serious integration into mainstream America. The third and current wave of immigration began in the 1980s, commonly referred to as solidarity immigration. Most of these Polish immigrants came to Chicago as a result of the imposition of martial law in Poland and the decade-long struggle to bring democracy to the Polish Republic. This wave of migration consists of individuals who opposed government rule and who are simply hoping for better futures. During this time, the Polish population in Chicago has grown to be the second largest next to Warsaw. An observed change, however, has been the gradual movement of immigrants within the city and a trend of movement towards the suburbs, with the lifestyles more resembling the life in the home country.
I think the biggest changes that I've seen in the Polish community over time is that the younger generation is taking real advantage of the opportunities that are available to them right here. Study is important, and it would make the road easier for yourself by continuing your education, after which time you're able to explore those opportunities that you chose to be the best.
Polish immigrants in Chicago continued to put great emphasis on keeping their tradition alive and passing it on to future generations. Polish parishes, organizations, Saturday schools, folk dance ensembles, choirs, and theater groups enrich and revive the culture that came to the city over 150 years ago.